What up, friends? How you doing today? Today is day 132. Got all this bullshit on my mind. And I seen a bunch of stuff this morning on fucking Facebook. People I know, people's parents, minorities, females, and this and that, talking about, minority females, whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? Talking about equity. Oh, like this one woman, she won a second award for equity, right? People have lost understanding that equality and equity are totally different. I could see equity in like medical treatment. I think she's a doctor, so maybe, but she might be a college professor, something like that. Anyway, I could see equity in medical treatment, right? Because, you should be treating everybody equally across the board, depending on what their ailment is. And then I seen a couple other women talking about, we just want our reproductive rights. And they changed the term of abortion to reproductive rights. And it sounds great, right? It sounds great. It's like, I just want the right to reproduce. But that's not what it is. It's the right to destroy a child. It's the right to destroy a baby. That's not equality. I mean, think about this, right? What can you, as a woman, no matter the color, right? What can I do as a man that you as a woman cannot do? For one, right, I don't have the right to choice, right? So if you and a woman are romantically involved, right? You have sex and she gets pregnant. She doesn't even have to tell you that she's pregnant. She can just go and get an abortion, right? Or take the day after pill, whatever it is. And there's no recourse for you in any way, shape, or form, if you ever find out. So that tells me that you have extra rights, right? And then what if you decide to have the baby, right? I don't have a choice in that either, right? I got no option for opting out, right? I have to pay money until the child's 18. Now, I'm not saying that that's this, that, the other thing. I'm just saying, right? So if both parents are broke, the woman gets pregnant. I mean, you're both stupid for doing unprotected sex and, but people do it, Anyway, you get pregnant and you don't have the choice to be like, no, I don't want the baby, right? You have to go with whatever decision the woman makes, even if she tells you, right? But what if you suspect that possibly the woman you just had sex with could become pregnant after your sexual encounter or whatever, right? And you have the morning after pill. You crush it up and throw it in a smoothie, right? Put it in her breakfast. Drinks that down, eats it down. The baby dies. And they find out, they test her. Oh, I don't know what's wrong. My stomach's hurting, blah, blah. They test her. They find the drug in her system. And they find out that you did it. You getting charged with a handful of felonies, right? But if that same woman goes and gets an abortion, even if you know and you're like, no, I want to have a child. And she has the abortion, there's no charges. No charges. She probably won't even get charged for the abortion. So to me, that seems like a privilege, right? Extra privileges. A lot of times, like I've been in situations where, and like women will say, well, we can't walk the streets at night. We're unsafe around men. It's like, well, the vast majority of random violent crimes and violent crimes in general, robberies and otherwise, rapes, sexual assaults, are committed against men, And a lot of the times, I mean, I've walked around out in public, in the city, and I've been a bouncer, I've done security in places, and like I've always protected women, I see a woman getting jacked up in the street, I'll jump in and try to separate the situation, try to fix it if I can, or help the situation, at least, diffuse it a little so there's no violence or whatever, and that's the way most men are. You know, we're very protective of women. You know, we have all kinds of laws, right, for equality in the workplace, right? You have to get paid the same amount and this and that. You know, what was the chick's name who was in the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire? She says that she should have got paid the same amount of money as the star of the movie. You know, equity isn't equality, people. Equity is communism. You know, it doesn't matter how hard you try or how much you don't try. Everybody has to be on an equal playing field, equal footing. You know, it's that DEI shit, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, diversity and inclusion are the same fucking thing, right? And they hide the equity in the middle because that they want you to believe that it means equality. Oh, diversity, inclusion, equality. No, equity. Equity. Whether you get A's or D's, you graduate, right? Whether you know you have the qualifications or not, it's what's, you know, it's not the content of your character or the quality of what you do. It's the characteristics of who you are and what you identify as. And we need a certain amount of those people here, right? I mean, equity in pay, right? If in construction, I was in the union, right? The women made the same amount of money as I did. And if I didn't work overtime, guess what? I got paid less every week. Does that mean there was inequality in pay? No. You know, you gotta look at these things. You know, the change in the vernacular, right, in real time. You know, it went from abortion, right? I just want my right to be able to choose to have an abortion to reproductive rights. You know, it sounds like, oh, I just want the freedom to have as many babies as I want. But that's not what it is. It's the freedom to destroy as many babies as you want, right? And a lot of those destructions are for inconvenience. You know, I know I was involved with a couple of women early on in my life. And, you know, because of an inconvenience, you know, I didn't make a stink about them wanting to get an abortion, about their parents getting involved and being like, well, she's going to college and blah, 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 you know. And I don't know, almost every woman I know who's had an abortion regrets it. Like, a lot. You know, I regret the situation. I regret not stepping up and being like, nah, you know, I can support this kid and blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to continue on my fucking easy life, right? I wanted to continue on my party lifestyle. I didn't want it to inconvenience me, take up my money for my drugs and my alcohol and being able to party and bang other chicks and all this other stuff. You know, and people are like, well, talking about like, well, men are victims of more violence. Yeah, but that's by other men. Yeah, and most of these men, these criminals, people in and out of institutions and jails, were raised by single mothers. If there's a father in the picture, it brings the odds of them being criminals, sexually assaulted, institutionalized, incarcerated. It brings it. I mean, it more than halves it. That's just if the father's in the life. They don't even have to live with the father, just as long as the father is involved, you know? And it's not the same. If it's just the dad in their life, the odds are still the same. They still have better odds with just the dad and no mom in their life. So, you know, people are making the wrong choices and they're thinking that they're being put upon because of their freaking ignorance and their terrible choices, you know, your bad decisions that lead to someone being like, well, I have to have an abortion. I mean, I got this job, I got this, I got that. It's like, well, you know, and people always say, right, it's like, well, I mean, they don't have the money to raise the children, so the children will suffer. Okay. You know, they're going to have a horrible life, so they're going to suffer. Okay, well, what about all the homeless people on the street, right? They have a terrible life. Should we just start fucking rounding them up and grinding them up and selling their organs and their, you know, this, that, their blood and yada, 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 you know, their tissues and do experiments and all this other stuff? No, that would be freaking terrible. You know what I'm saying? But just because you can't see it, you know, you can kill it. I mean, that's not equality, folks. That's not equality. If anything, that's special privileges, you know, and I get it. You know, it's nice to have extra privileges, you know, it really is. But, you know, if you want equality, how are you not equal? Honestly, anybody, black, white, male, female, trans, gay, straight, lesbian, whatever. How are you not equal? What can you do? I mean, there's definitely inconveniences. There's assholes in the world that might treat you differently because of this, that, or the other thing. But those are mostly small, limited situations now. The years ago, it was very different. It was very different. People don't want equality. They want extra privileges. All right, I'll talk to you later, folks. That was just what was on my mind. I had to get it off. And day 133, folks. I feel better.